Time for Countdown's worst persons in the world. The Franz, the fine folks at USA Today Sports Weekly. For at least a week, the readers who participate in rotisserie or fantasy baseball leagues have been awaiting the March 19th issue, the special annual Fantasy Extra issue. Values and projections for all Major League players, the ones the fans in these leagues buy or draft the rights to and compete against other fantasy teams. But the 19th passed and no copy of it appeared. And the 20th, none. Not in New York City anyway. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. What today suddenly appeared on New York newsstands? The Fantasy Extra. You know what today was? Opening day in Major League Baseball. Most Fantasy League drafts were last weekend or earlier. Thanks. Thanks a lot. Our runner-up, John Yoo, former Bush Justice Department official, complaining in a Wall Street Journal op-ed that the Democrats' superdelegate system is, quote, undemocratic, that this isn't anything the framers of the U.S. Constitution dreamed up. Number one, the framers also did not dream up political parties, and in his farewell address, George Washington pleaded with us not to have them. So if you're going by that standard, buddy, the Democrats and the Republicans have to disband tomorrow. Number two, whatever means the parties use now, they are 4 million times more democratic than half a century ago, when primaries were beauty contests and the bosses still decided every nomination. Number three, John Yoo is talking about democracy. This is the guy who wrote Bush the memo saying interrogation is a torture only if there was organ failure or death. This is the guy who wrote Bush the memo telling him he could ignore the Geneva Conventions. This is the guy who wrote Bush the memo saying he didn't have to get the consent of Congress before he invaded Iraq. Nevertheless, our winner tonight is Billo, and simply put, he has lost it. The Washington Post Sunday magazine wrote of the, quote, cruel and usual punishment inflicted on a writer who tried to listen simultaneously to the radio programs of Billo and comedian Rush Limbaugh. Billo's response: perhaps Post editor Leonard Downey is too busy allowing personal smear attacks in his publication. Mr. Downey might rethink that policy, as some Post employees have significant personal situations of their own. They are using their magazines and their book review to smear people in very, very ridiculous and unprofessional ways. Mr. Downey had better knock it off, or we're going to have to start to take a look at him and his people. I'm as serious as a heart attack. If the Washington Post keeps it up, there are going to be some pretty interesting things being reported on them. Blackmail. He's trying to blackmail the Washington Post into not criticizing him. He tried it with NBC and got knocked flat on his ass. I mean, those quotes could have come straight from Joe McCarthy just before he was consumed by the delirium tremens. You know what the Washington Post should do? It should do a multi-part series on whether or not any right-wing cable show hosts have gone crazy, clinically insane. You know, a couple of articles exploring this topic, like 32 or 33 of them. Quote a lot of shrinks and psychologists and clinical psychologists and communications professors, and never mention Billo's name. Oh, and body language experts. Quotes a lot of body language experts, too. It'll drive him right out of his capsule. Bill Don Quixote orally. Today's worst person in the world.